think in the last few weeks we have had a complete, utter display of pure evil. But this, I want you to look at this face. This is what he looks like now, by the way. This being is the reason of a recent massive outrage that requires, in my opinion, the intervention of the President of the United States. Father of slain 6-year-old issues ominous threat to son's killer, who was freed early after serving just 8 years. Unbelievable. The killer of a 6-year-old boy has been released on parole after serving only half his sentence, and the slain child's father issuing a dire threat to the freed man. Ronald Santos, 42, stabbed the entire Tipton family as they slept in their Versailles, Kentucky home on December 7, 2015, but focused most of his rage on little Logan, who he slashed repeatedly in the head with a kitchen knife. This guy. And he's released now. Before we continue, I want to say something. Mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. When Logan's father, Dean Tipton, confronted the knife-wielding intruder, the dad was stabbed and tossed 20 to 15 feet, he told WLKY. Daughter Dakota described the harrowing scene to the outlet, open quotes, "He stabbed me in the back and then stomped on my head," close quotes, she said. Bastard. Open quotes, "And I remember waking up across the room, not where I was at, and I looked as he was killing Logan, and Logan was screaming." I want to, before we continue this, we'll have to look at the judges and all the committee and everyone that actually did this. But I want you to know this other detail. He stabbed so many times this 6-year-old in the head that the blade of the knife was bent. Now, a lot of things are going to upset you tonight. If you're a decent person, that is. 1, the absurdity of the fact that he didn't get life in prison or death penalty. 2, the fact that the already too short sentence of only 20 years was reduced to 8 because, check this out, of good conduct. There is no such a thing as good conduct when it comes to a child killer. No such a thing. Third thing that is going to make your blood boil. I made a few posts about this, complaining about this diabolical injustice. And yes, in the comments there were people justifying him. We'll review some of those names on screen. He told Dakota that he was going to kill every one of us, so now I've got to be on extra guard to protect my kids. Exactly, yes. So that's the father now speaking, open quotes. He told Dakota that he was going to kill every one of us, so now I've got to be on extra guard to protect my kids because I will not lose another one, close quote. Tipton told local Fox 56. Open quote. Imagine the nightmare that this man's life has become, and of course the siblings too, traumatized for life. And then open quotes, the father says it's infuriating that a 6-year-old was killed sleeping in his bed and someone literally only did 10 years in prison and he didn't even do the time for that. He did time for assault charges, close quote. Can you imagine that? They called it assault charges. That's it. That's it. I think for reason of insanity or something, but what does that even have to do with anything? What do you mean? Someone is insane, so it's not a threat. Still a threat for society. It needs to be cast out. Doesn't matter if he does it because of cold-blooded murder or if he does it because he thinks he's got, I don't know, freaking demons in his head speaking. Still a threat. Clearly a threat. Look what he did. Let's hear from the father.
He stood up with me on top of him. Just stood up and threw me 10, 15 feet across the room and went after her.
Dean Tipton says December 7th, 2015 is a night that changed his life. He says his children woke him up. He then found a man attacking his children.
And when I got to the top of the stairs, he attacked me. He come at me with the knife.
The night took a tragic turn with the loss of a life, his 6-year-old son, Logan. Dean says immediately after Logan's death, he lost his will to live.
I laid in bed. I gave up. I gave up on life. I gave up on my family. I gave up on everybody. I just wanted to die.
In the years since, the family has done.
I held him so deep in my arms. And finally, he took his last breath, looked at me, and closed his eyes, and he was gone.
My gosh, it breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart. Not only this poor man has had to endure what no one ever should, but on top of it, he now has to look at the killer of his son walk free? I repeat, the President of the United States needs to do something about this.
In the years since, the family has done their best to cope, but mentions they are mentally and emotionally scarred.
Of course.
And they are hurt that Ronald DeSantis will no longer be behind bars.
Everybody deserves a fighting chance to have justice for them, and it's not.
I've had my talks with God, because I'm not afraid to tell you all. I told the court, if I ever cross paths with him, I will kill the man. I will kill him where he stands.
All right, let's have a look at some of the comments, shall we? If someone is mentally ill like a schizophrenic, they belong in an institution, not jail. They literally can't discern right from wrong when they are hallucinating demons, for example. This is so stupid. The level of pedantry, like I usually love pedantry and being pedantic, but this is stupid. I don't care what you call it. 4 walls, never see the sunlight ever again, mental institution, as long as it's well guarded, mental institution, or prison. In fact, I never said jail. I said prison, or death penalty. That's it. I don't care what you call it. Who cares? Who cares if they do it because it's not like they're not a threat. And this guy continues to say, I do care if you wanted to be in prison, you're advocating for mentally ill people who don't know right from wrong. Who cares? You have to protect it. It's like these people like him do all of this to be just to him, but not to him. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Then mercy is a virtue we cannot afford right now. Sometimes revenge is justice. In this case, it's not even revenge. It is justice, was what I said. Look. Pretty sure vengeance is reserved for God. Besides, the guy was arrested, charged, tried, convicted, and served his sentence. Unbelievable. You're disgusting, Ali. You're disgusting. Vengeance is reserved for God means that we don't have to worry about the wicked. Even if in this life they don't get the punishment they deserve, they will get it after this life. This is what that means. It does not mean, however, like this imbecile is trying to portray, that, someone enters your house and they want to take out your entire family, but you're like, yeah, but vengeance is reserved to God, so I'm just going to stand by and look. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That is not a Christian principle. You are allowed to defend your people, yourself, your loved ones, and we are defending ourselves as a society because we want to protect this. You, however, who are an absolute hypocrite who only uses my religion to try and push some defense for this because you're demonic like him, you don't care about the victims. You don't care about the father. What about the suffering of this family? I care about them. I care about the victims. I care about the weak like him. That's what I care about. Of course, if someone could stop him in the active moment, then yeah, take him down immediately. But if you arrest him, then I'm not saying take him out and execute him without due process, but I'm saying that due process needs to be just. And these people, they will not stop defending evil. Look, maybe you could be a good Christian and choose peace. Unbelievable. I'm gonna respond, but I'm gonna do it offline. If you want to see what I say, come check out my ex. I'm back. Gosh, I went all in on that vile snake. Okay, so there is one thing I want to say about this. If you watch this, please follow the following steps that I'm going to tell you. Please do it. Before you go to sleep, do the rounds and make sure that every door that leads to the exterior from your house is locked. Do this. Make it into a habit. Second, always lock the bedroom doors. Whenever you go to sleep, lock the door of your bedroom. If you have children, if they are very young, they should sleep with you. If they are already of an age that they sleep on their own, or perhaps they sleep with an older brother or older sister, I would suggest for them to also lock the door, but you should have a key to that as a parent. And the key should always be right next to you. Third, always have a weapon for personal defense. You might think that home invasions will never happen to you, and statistically they won't. But statistically weren't going to happen to him either, and yet they did. So it is always good to be prepared. Doesn't matter if a bunch of imbeciles will tell you you're paranoid. They would have told him. Think about that. Let this sink in. Picture it in your mind. If I had told him, the idiots that laugh, they would have made fun of him and me for that. And yet, this could have been prevented. I'm not victim blaming in any way, shape, or form, but I'm telling you, this is the fault of the mother, of the disgusting human being that did this. Not the father's fault, not the family's fault. But I'm saying we can do steps in order to prevent very rare instances of home invasions, not only to happen, also possibly investing in a security system so that the house goes nuts when someone breaks in, right? And possibly calls the authority automatically. This is a thing that happens. So you get the famous phone call and all the rest. But in general, these are steps that I really wish you would listen. Because what I know, people will call me a paranoid, but I don't care what people think about me. I really don't. What I care about is that it is statistically possible, due to the fact that my videos do hit tens of thousands and sometimes hundreds of thousands of views. It is statistically possible that I will save a life today. So please do these steps that I mentioned. Be careful if you have very young kids and then they get locked in the room and then they need you. Yeah, that's why I say you need to have that key. But in general, absolutely, always do the rounds. That's the most important one. The locking of the bedroom doors, your own I would always lock, but in general with children, as I say, you have to kind of navigate that depending on the situation. If they do sleep with an older sister, it's absolutely fine to ask her to do that. But what I say is, always do the rounds. Always do the rounds. Make sure all the doors to the exterior are locked. And always have a weapon for personal defense, according to the law, whatever is permitted in your country. Always. Because in this case, if he had a gun, this would have been a different discussion altogether. And even if he had a knife or a hammer at this point, he may have stopped it. So you always have to have a weapon near you. Always. Sam says the death penalty is morally good. You cannot change my mind. Okay, I'll make a dedicated video to this. I'll post it very soon so we can discuss. Where in the Old or New Testament is that? This, look how much the people that are not Christian will use Christianity as if Christianity is hippie 2.0, where we're not supposed to defend children and our family. You're out of your mind. That is not my religion. Absolutely not. I'll make a dedicated video to this. You'll recognize it by the title, I promise. And I will do it justice. Because this idea that I can't... So I'm not a Christian because I'm not being nice to this guy trying to protect this child and his family. I swear, the holes of hell must have a cumulative IQ of 30. Kentucky parole board who released the black man Ronaldo Sexantos who broke into a home, attacked a family, and murdered the 6-year-old son, Logan Tipton. And by the way, I want to underline one thing. Don't for a second even mention, but it should be a situation where you can reintroduce these people into society. No, Not with people that do stuff like this to children. They're gone. It's the spreading of innocent blood. The unforgivable sin. Absolutely not. They are beyond. Someone who robs a place, no victims, you can rehabilitate. Someone who was into drugs because they were in the wrong neighborhood and brotherhood, they still need to pay their sentence, depending, because, I mean, if you deal drugs, you're literally going to cause people's deaths and you don't care for money, but it might be rehabilitated after a certain number of years, and if you work towards it, they can change their life, particularly if they're very young. But someone like him, beyond, absolutely. They must be held accountable. Yeah, I wished for the law to look into this, to be honest. They left this monster loose on parole. He's free walking the streets. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I cannot believe that this poor man. And the poor child. No one of those people that are defending this, no one cares about the little kid. He had dreams, he had hopes, so did the dad. No one cares. They just come to you and tell you, you're Christian, you're not a Christian if you want him to be held accountable. And this is the news I wanted to share with you guys. If there is some update on this, and maybe the president will look into it, I'll let you know. Literally to these people I say, get thee behind me, Satan.